I've been driving for what felt like forever, 2 hours at least, pushing hard along I-66 straight toward Tennessee. My wife Emily was attending a 3-day insurance conference at the Convergence, and while I told myself I was just going to surprise her with a nice dinner, the truth was harsher. I suspected she was cheating on me. I'd been behind the wheel for what seemed like an eternity, at least a couple of hours, flooring it down I-66, aiming straight for Tennessee. My wife, Emily, was up there for a 4-day insurance gig at the Marriott, and I kept telling myself I was just gonna pop in and treat her to a fancy dinner. But deep down, I knew the real reason was uglier. I had a gnawing feeling she was stepping out on me. For months, that suspicion had been eating at me. My stomach was a mess, churning with guilt, doubt, and a slow-burning rage that made it tough to keep my truck steady on the highway. Every time she went off to one of these work things over the last 3 months, something just didn't sit right. She'd roll in late, acting all distant, sneaking peeks at her phone at odd hours with this smug little grin I'd never noticed before. Emily used to light up a room just by walking in, all bubbly and full of life, the kind of gal whose energy could carry a party. But lately, that glow had dimmed, like someone flipped a switch. She still had that knockout body, though, curves that used to make me whip my head around so fast as a teenager, I damn near sprained my neck. Her long blonde hair still sparkled in the sun as if it were made of polished metal. But something about her felt out of reach now, like she was hiding a wildfire of secrets behind those eyes. Emily and I had been hitched for 16 years. We've got 2 kids, Lily, who's 13, and Ethan, 11. We tied the knot right out of high school, young and reckless, head over heels in a way that felt invincible back then. But time has a way of wearing things down. Love can fester and rot if one of us starts thinking the grass is greener somewhere else. I was dead set on squashing my doubts once and for all. I had to march right up to room 117, where she was holed up for this conference, and see with my own eyes if our marriage was worth saving or just a boat taking on water. In my darker moments, I'd figured if I caught her tangled up with some other guy, at least I'd have a clear path forward. No more sleepless nights, no more torturing myself with worst-case scenarios. I pulled into the Convergence lot just after 4 that evening. The place was all glitz, huge spinning doors, a lobby that sparkled like a showroom, floors so shiny you could see your reflection. It screamed expensive, the kind of joint that overcharges for parking and skimps on sincerity. I half thought some security guy might block my way. But here's the kicker about fancy hotels like that, if you stride in like you own the place, nobody bats an eye. So I strolled up to the front desk. This young clerk, all prim in his starched uniform, asked how he could assist me. I gave him my name, Nathan Harper, flashed my ID, and told him I was there to see my wife, Emily Harper, who was at some insurance thing in room 117. With a calm I'd rehearsed, I said she'd left a key for me. The kid sized me up quick, tapped away at his keyboard, then flashed a grin. "Here you go, Mr. Harper," he said, sliding a key card my way. "Hope you enjoy your stay." My pulse was hammering as I headed for the elevator. The lights overhead buzzed too bright, and my hands were clammy as hell. I kept telling myself I was braced for whatever I'd find up there, but that was a load of crap. I stepped into the elevator, rode it to the 2nd floor, then trudged down a hallway with this faded red carpet. I stopped at 117, slid the key in, and heard the lock beep green. I pushed the door open, slow and quiet-like. There was Emily, perched at a little desk in the corner, leafing through a pile of papers. She spun around, eyes going wide. "Nathan, you nearly gave me a heart attack." I plastered on a grin, keeping my tone light. "Thought I'd drop by and surprise you. Even brought my suit so we could hit the town for dinner." She blinked, and for a split second, I swore I caught a flicker of guilt. Then her face lit up with a big, warm smile. "That's so thoughtful. I wasn't expecting you." She got up, brushed at her blouse like she was shaking off dust, and came toward me with her arms wide open. I braced myself, half thinking she'd try to steer me away, but nope, she leaned in and kissed me, those familiar lips pressing against mine. My gut twisted up tight. That was the same mouth I'd pictured cursing out if I found proof she'd betrayed me. But she acted like she was glad I was there. "Stay the night," she chirped, all chipper. "They gave me a nice room. You can help me unwind after these boring seminars." "Sure," I said, playing it cool. "Could use a breather myself." She kissed me again, her fingers brushing my shoulders, then stepped back. "Let me hop in the shower real quick. Then we'll sort out dinner, sound good?" Her voice was so breezy, so offhand, that my earlier suspicions started wrestling with doubt. Maybe I was just paranoid, or maybe she was a damn good liar. She sashayed into the bathroom, humming like she didn't have a care in the world. The shower kicked on, water hissing through the pipes. I kicked off my shoes and scoped out the room. Everything looked tidy, no obvious signs of company, at least not at first glance. I let out a breath. Maybe she was on the level after all. My head was throbbing. I'd driven 3 hours to get answers, and so far, it all seemed normal. But I couldn't shake the feeling, couldn't let it drop. Then I spotted her big toiletry bag on the dresser. I wandered over, muttering to myself that I just needed some aspirin. But let's be real, I was hunting for proof. I unzipped it and poked around. It was the usual stuff: makeup, hairpins, a little comb. Then I saw them, a pack of 8 protective measures. My heart froze solid. After Ethan came along, Emily tried the pill, but it threw her off, so I got snipped. We hadn't needed rubbers since. But there they were, staring me down. My hands shook as I held them. There was only one reason she'd have those tucked away. She was messing around. She was sleeping with someone else. And that was the last straw, the final crack in the trust I'd been clinging to. So what's a guy supposed to do when he's been stabbed in the back like that? Some might storm in and confront her. Others might yell their lungs out. Some might just walk away. Me? I saw red. I dug deeper into the bag, found a safety pin, and, numb as hell, started jabbing tiny holes through each condom, quick little stabs right in the middle, then tucked them back where they were. Was it sane? Hell no. But it felt like a silent payback. If she was bold enough to use them with her fling, maybe she'd get what was coming. I slipped the pin into my pocket. My phone was on the side table, so I grabbed it and called Mike, my ride-or-die buddy who'd hide a corpse for me if I asked. "Hey," I muttered low. "Need a favor, call me in an hour with some fake emergency I can't dodge. Like a busted pipe at the school, something big to yank me back home." Mike didn't blink, just said he'd do it. By the time Emily stepped out of the shower, my escape plan was locked in. I'd find an excuse to split before night's end, give myself room to think and figure out what came next. She came out, hair wet, wrapped in a fluffy towel, and shot me a flirty look. "Hey, handsome, you look wound up tight." "Too." I let out a shaky laugh, barely holding it together. "That drive really took it out of me," I said. Emily plopped down next to me, her hand sliding onto my thigh, giving it a little rub. "Let me fix that for you," she murmured, leaning in close for a kiss, her skin still warm and steamy from the shower, mingling with my ragged breathing. A tougher guy might have pushed her off right then, but me? I felt this messed up mix of want and rage pulling me in. Anger and heartbreak can light a fire in you, twisted as that sounds. So I let her have her little moment, gave into it. We got close, tangled up, but my head was roaring the whole damn time. Every sound she let out, every gasp, it all felt dirty, stained by what I knew. I kept waiting for her to slip up, maybe drop a name or a hint, but she didn't. She just played it off like this was some real, fiery connection between us. When it was over, we threw on some clothes and headed down to the hotel's restaurant. Emily was all chipper, ordering herself a petite filet mignon and a glass of rose like nothing was wrong. I went for a thick steak and a stiff whiskey, anything to quiet the storm churning in my gut. "So," I said, forcing my voice to stay steady, "you having fun at this conference?" She gave a little shrug. "It's fine, I guess. Insurance talks are boring as hell, but they're part of the gig," she added. Then she tilted her head, smirking. "Kind of funny you never ask about this stuff." The nerve of her hit me like a slap, acting like I didn't give a damn about her work life. That was rich, I thought, considering how obsessed I'd gotten lately. We kept talking, about the kids, next month's house payment, random everyday junk, while the knot in my shoulders just wouldn't loosen up. Right on time, my phone buzzed. "Mike, my lifeline." I stepped away from the table. "Hey, Mike, what's up? A busted pipe in the school basement?" "Shit, that sounds bad." I laid on the worry thick, loud enough for it to sound real. "Yeah, I'll head back now." I let a couple minutes pass, made it look good, then hung up. When I got back, Emily had this half-smirk, half-pissed-off look. "Something up?" she asked. I fed her the line about the school's plumbing going haywire, how I was the only one who could deal with it. She put on this fake pout. "Seriously? Tonight of all nights? We just got settled, Nathan." "I know, trust me, I hate ditching," I said, pulling out my best hangdog expression. "But if I don't handle it, they'll have to cancel classes tomorrow, and you know how big that'd be." She sighed, shoving her plate aside. "All right, fine, go play the big fix-it hero." She didn't push back, which said it all. I could practically see her planning to cheer my leaving, probably itching to call her side guy and crack open those tampered protective measures. We rode the elevator back up. When the doors slid open, some tall dude with a cocky grin stepped out, greeting Emily like they went way back. "Emily," he said, then stuck his hand out to me. "You must be Nathan. I'm Ryan Foster, work with your wife." I sized him up, late 30s, hair too perfect, chiseled jaw, flashy watch. He grinned like he owned the damn place. The way Emily's eyes lit up told me this wasn't just some coworker, this was the bastard holding her secrets. "Ryan," I said, gripping his hand harder than I needed to. "Good to meet you." He sauntered off down the hall, and I swear my blood was boiling. I could have pictured myself pinning him to the wall, squeezing the life out of him, but I had to play it smart. I walked Emily back to her room, said my goodbyes, told her I'd ring her in the morning. Her face was this weird mix of relief and maybe a flicker of something else, nerves or thrill, hard to tell. I peeled out of there, climbed into my truck, and started the long, lonely haul home. As Tennessee lights shrank in the rearview, I wondered if I had the guts to see this mess through. The woman I used to worship had turned into a two-faced cheat, and all I had was a pack of rubbers to prove it. If I went around yelling about her cheating, nobody'd buy it without something solid. I needed real evidence, something ironclad to show she was a scheming liar. 3 days later, Emily waltzed back home. She was all perky, practically gloating about how draining the conference was. Not a word about Ryan, no sorries, nothing, just a quick peck on my cheek before she started puttering around the kitchen like we were golden. I had to keep my cool, but inside, I was a volcano ready to blow. That weekend, her company, Nexera, threw their big family picnic, same deal every summer, renting out a huge park with rides, balloons, cotton candy, the whole circus. Lily and Ethan were pumped to go, bouncing around like it was Christmas. Me? I was dreading it, being around Emily's work crowd, watching Ryan strut his stuff, made me want to puke. But for the kids, I slapped on a grin and powered through. We loaded up the car and headed out. Emily had on this tight V-neck top and skinny jeans that hugged her curves just right. She'd spent the morning primping in front of the mirror, flipping her hair, smearing on lip gloss with this smug little flourish. "You look good," I said, my voice flat as a board. "Thanks," she shot back, tossing her hair again. Could have sounded less like a robot, though. I let it roll off me. We got there, checked in at the welcome tent, snagged some free tote bags. Right away, Emily got sucked into a gaggle of coworkers, all cackling too loud at dumb jokes, while I hung back with the kids, feeling like an outsider. Then I spotted Ryan, working the crowd, shaking hands like some slick politician. Minutes later, this woman I didn't know, Sophia Foster, came up to me. Tall, auburn hair, sharp blue eyes that cut right through you, dressed in a crisp white blouse and slacks that showed off her shape. "Hey," she said, her voice soft but steady, "you're Emily's husband, right?" "Nathan Harper." "That's me," I replied, trying to read her face. "And you are?" "Sophia Foster, Ryan's wife." My eyebrows shot up. Ryan's wife. So there she was, married to the guy I was damn sure was fooling around with Emily. I tried not to gawk. She was stunning, carrying herself like someone who stops traffic without trying. We chit-chat about the weather, how many folks showed up, nothing heavy. Then, as we wandered off from the noisy crowd, she dropped her voice. "Listen, I know about Emily and Ryan. I've known for a couple months now." I stopped dead, my stomach doing flips. "You knew?" She nodded quick, her eyes darting over my shoulder. "I've tried everything to get Ryan to quit it," she said. "He just denies it when I call him out. I even got a private investigator on it." That hit me like a lightning bolt. "So you've got pictures, proof?" I asked. She gave a tight, bitter smile. "Yeah, enough to build a solid divorce case. My lawyer's pushing me to get statements from people who'll back it up, maybe even Emily, but she's in way too deep." I nodded, a weird mix of relief and nausea washing over me. Relief because I wasn't crazy after all. 3. Emily was definitely stepping out on me. Man, it hit me hard. Our marriage was spiraling out of control, and I felt queasy just thinking about it. Sophia pulled me aside and asked if I'd be up for pooling what we had, stuff like proof, witness statements, anything to beef up our cases if we decided to ditch our spouses. I didn't even blink before saying yeah, count me in. She tossed out the idea of meeting up at her place the next day, 33, Duskwood Lane in Ravenhall, since Ryan would be off swinging clubs at the golf course. We swapped numbers real quick to keep in touch. After that, we eased back into the party crowd, acting like nothing big had just gone down. Emily was over there, charming her work buddies, tossing her head back with this big, fake laugh every time Ryan cracked a joke. Ryan, though, stayed just far enough from Sophia, who kept her face blank, like she'd practiced that look in the mirror. You could practically choke on how thick the tension got. Come morning, I told Emily I had some stuff to run around and do. She barely looked up, muttering she'd be shopping with a pal. That worked out just fine for me. I dropped the kids off with my folks and cruised over to Duskwood Lane across town. It's a nice little street, cute houses, tidy yards, flowers popping with color everywhere. Sophia's house sat at the end of the cul-de-sac, all cheery with rose bushes and a porch that looked straight out of a magazine. She swung the door open in jeans and a sweater, hair pulled back, and gave me a tired grin. "Morning, Nathan," she said, waving me inside like we were old buddies. Her place was cozy, warm tones, soft lights, the kind of setup that makes you feel at home. She led me to her den, where a little table held a computer screen showing some dingy motel room, single bed, nobody in it yet. She nodded at a chair and told me to take a load off. "Got a PI on the payroll," she explained. "He's the one who stuck cameras in there. Ryan's got a routine," she went on. "Books that same room every golf day." Her voice cracked a bit when she said, "golf." She handed me a soda, and I grabbed it, trying to wash down the lump in my throat. "So you're saying they're hooking up today?" I asked. "Probably," she replied. "Ryan figures I've quit keeping tabs on him," she added. We sat there, chatting nervously to kill time, and then Sophia hauled out this fat accordion folder crammed with pictures. There they were, Emily and Ryan strolling into motels, ducking out of eateries, even locking lips in a parking garage one time. She had recordings, call logs, the works, enough to sink them both. My stomach churned staring at it all. Still, I was kinda thankful deep down. For months, I'd been eaten up by this nagging feeling with nothing solid to back it up. Now I had the proof, and it slammed me like a punch to the head. Then the screen blinked to life. The motel door swung open, and in strutted Ryan, decked out in his golf shirt. Emily trailed right behind him, hair up, blouse half undone like she couldn't wait. They started making out like a couple of randy kids, clawing at each other's clothes. In no time, they were buck naked. The picture was way too clear, painfully so. My fists clenched up tight. There she was, the woman I'd loved forever, tangled up with some guy I hardly knew. I lasted maybe 2 minutes watching before I had to call it. "That's enough for me," I said. Sophia's face was white as a sheet. "Same here," she muttered, shutting off the feed. "I'll get the PI to burn this onto a disc." I gave her a nod, keeping my tone level even though I was shaking inside. "Appreciate it." We spent the next hour hashing out a game plan. Sophia was ready to hand over her stash of evidence, and I'd do the same with whatever I could dig up. We were gunning for divorces that'd leave Emily and Ryan with nothing but a bad taste in their mouths. If they pushed back, we'd be locked and loaded. When we started winding down, Sophia mentioned her koi ponds out back, kind of a quirky thing she was into. I was glad for the breather and tagged along outside. Her yard was something else, stone walkways, little waterfalls, 3 ponds all tricked out. She had these colorful koi swimming around, smooth as silk under the water. It was weird standing there, shooting the breeze about fish while my whole world fell apart, but it calmed me down some. Sophia showed off the pumps and filters, and I piped up about my plumbing days. For the first time that day, we actually chilled out a bit. Eventually, she walked me to the door. "I hate that we're in this mess," she said softly, leaning on the frame. "But at least we've got each other's backs, huh?" I agreed with a nod. "We'll get through it." Over the next few weeks, I got real familiar with Emily's habits, ugly details and all. Every time I heard the shower kick on, I'd rummage through her toiletry bag. Sure enough, I'd find new protective measures every time. I kept a safety pin ready and poked holes in M, picturing her smug face if she ever caught on. The wildest thing. She acted like everything was peachy, just getting cockier by the day. She'd throw it in my face, saying I didn't value her, that I was too narrow-minded. I started thinking she got off on juggling 2 lives, dotting mom by daylight, Ryan's side piece whenever she could slip out. One Friday night, after the kids crashed, I pinned her down in the living room. "Emily, we gotta talk about your work," I said. She was glued to some trashy reality show, didn't even hit mute. "We've been over this, what's your deal?" she snapped. "I want you to walk away from Nexera," I told her. "I can't stand that place, or Ryan Foster. He's bad news for you." She flicked her eyes at me and let out this snotty little laugh. "You're fixated. Ryan's just a guy I work with." 4. "No way I'm ditching my job just 'cause you're feeling shaky about it," Emily shot back. "This ain't about me being insecure," I told her. "It's about how cozy you get around that guy." She popped up, flicking off the TV with this over-the-top gesture. "Nathan, you gotta quit acting like a kid," she snapped. "Stop pinning your petty jealousy on me." Her tone dripped with this nasty edge that made my skin crawl. "I'm done hashing this out," she said. "Your nagging's wearing me thin." She shoved past me, stomping up the stairs, leaving me there fuming, practically steaming out my ears. Meanwhile, Sophia and I got into this rhythm of swapping updates whenever we could. My little ones started calling her the fish lady. They'd light up whenever we swung by to check out her koi. Emily never put 2 and 2 together. On the nights she was off sneaking around with Ryan, I'd take the kids over to Sophia's, nice and quiet, maybe a movie night to keep things chill. Sophia was the first to pull the trigger on her divorce. Ryan pushed back hard, but she had him dead to rights with all that evidence, snapshots, taped calls, even that grainy motel video. He came at her swinging with legal threats, yelling about privacy or whatever, but it didn't stick. Sophia's lawyer chewed him up and spit him out. Emily, though. She either didn't have a clue or figured she was bulletproof. Never once grilled me about where I was those late nights or what I was up to. Maybe she was too guilty to ask, or maybe she just didn't give a damn. Then one night, she hit me with a curveball. She was slouched at the kitchen table, twirling a wine glass like she didn't have a care in the world. "Work's been a lot lately," she said. "I'm taking a breather, heading to Rachel's for a few days, maybe a week." She took a sip and smirked. "Figured you'd like the space, seeing as you're so grumpy all the time." My teeth clenched so hard I thought they'd crack. She sounded like she was doing me some big favor, all high and mighty. "Okay, when you heading out?" I asked, keeping it short. "Ryanoro morning," she replied. "Rachel's got room, and I need to unwind." She shot me this look, like she was begging me to pick a fight. I didn't bite, just gritted out a fake, "Enjoy yourself," and let it hang there. My brain was already racing, wondering what this sister trip was really about. Something told me it wasn't just for kicking back. I started digging. Found some receipts stuffed in her purse from a family planning clinic, bingo. One peek and my gut screamed the worst. Could she be looking to ditch a pregnancy? Those protective measures I'd messed with, had they backfired on me? Was she carrying Ryan's kid? I had to know for sure. Next day, I rolled up to the clinic, figuring she might have booked something there. Most places shut me down when I fished for info, but the family planning spot said I could sign a consent form if I proved I was her husband. So I waltzed in, playing dumb but eager. "Just here to sign whatever you need, make sure we're all good, right?" The lady at the desk flipped through her files, then slid one over. I put my name on it. Friday, 11 a.m., that's when her appointment was set. My ears were ringing, blood pumping loud enough to drown out everything else. It was real. She was pregnant, probably with Ryan's baby, and it was all because of those holes I'd jabbed in her protection. My chest was a mess of shock, rage, regret, and this dark, twisted satisfaction. She didn't just cheat, she got herself in deep and was ready to scrub it clean. I stormed out of there with a new fire in me. No way this was ending quiet and tidy. She wanted to mess around. Fine, I'd play too. I hauled across state lines, 3 hours to Rachel's place. Emily had rolled in the night before. Rachel's husband, Brad, was this hulking ex-construction guy, big enough to toss me around like a rag doll if he wanted. The air got heavy the second I stepped through the door. Emily's eyes burned holes in me, arms crossed tight. "What the hell are you doing here?" she hissed. I forced a thin grin. "Thought I'd drop by." "Kids are with my folks," I added. "Since you're on a little getaway, figured I'd take some time off too." Rachel darted a quick, jittery look at Brad, who slapped on this awkward smile. "Yeah, the more the merrier, right?" he mumbled. Emily's glare sharpened, her jaw locked. "I didn't ask you to come," she spat. I shrugged. "Well, I'm here now." A beat of stiff silence hung there. Brad cleared his throat. "Hey, Nathan, how about fishing tomorrow? My buddy Owen's got a boat, beers, the water, let the girls chill out." I acted like I was mulling it over. "Could be a good time," I said. But morning came, and I wasn't budging, stood by the car door, arms folded. Brad's face went beet red, barking at me to get moving, but I waved him off. He and Owen peeled out, pissed, leaving me behind. Inside, Rachel was on the phone, whispering fast. Emily snapped at me to give them space. "Go find something to do, Nathan," she growled. "We've got stuff to handle." I took my sweet time, sipping coffee in the kitchen, ignoring their glares and shooing. When Emily stepped out of sight, I snagged her phone and powered it down. Those call-waiting beeps from Brad could kiss off. Rachel was hissing into her own line, probably scrambling to shift Emily's appointment or warn somebody we'd be late. I made damn sure they couldn't sneak off. Brad rolled back mid-afternoon, looking like he'd been yelling at a brick wall all day. Rachel lit into him for not dragging me onto that boat. Emily just stood there, wired tight, her face flickering between pissed off and outright furious. That night, after dinner, I boxed her in at Rachel's kitchen table, the overhead light cutting harsh shadows across her. "Emily," I said, cool as I could manage, "you're through at Nexera." Her face twisted with anger. "Shut your mouth, I'm tired of this crap." "I'm not quitting," she fired back. "You don't get to push me around." I sucked in a breath, reached into this manila folder I'd hauled along, and pulled out divorce papers. I slid them across the table. "Sign them or don't," I said. "But if you say no, I'll handle it myself." She gawked at the papers, jaw dropping, then snarled, "You can't divorce me over my job, that's not even a reason." "Cheating is," I said low, whipping out a stack of photos and spreading them out, her and Ryan tangled up, ducking out of motels, half naked. Her face went ghost white. "You son of a bitch, you've been stalking me," she yelled, lunging for the pics. I caught her wrist. "How else was I gonna find out? You've been playing me for an idiot." Her lips shook. "You had no right, this is disgusting. You trapped me like some creep." "You trapped yourself the second you hopped in bed with Ryan," I shot back. Heavy steps thundered in, Rachel and Brad barging into the room. Rachel sucked in a breath at the photos. Emily was trembling, eyes bouncing from the pictures to me. Then my phone buzzed, Dad, saying he'd pulled up with a truck full of Emily's junk from the house. I hung up. Emily's glare turned wet, tears glinting. "What did you do?" she choked out. I leaned in, voice cold as steel. "Changed the locks, packed your stuff. Want anything else? Send me a damn list." She looked stunned. Rachel tried jumping in to back her up, but I shut it down. "Half our account money's in an envelope, that's yours. Car title signed over too. Kids. You'll get one day a week, maybe a sleepover once a month, but only after you sign a statement owning up to the affair." Emily stumbled over her words, sputtering. 5. "What are you going on about? You can't, I'm the one who dropped the big bombshell. I found out you're pregnant, Emily, and that appointment at the Family Planning Center on Friday at 10 a.m. sure sounds familiar, doesn't it?" Her shriek ripped right through the kitchen like a jagged knife. "You had no business doing that." I fished the safety pin out of my pocket and set it down on the table with a quiet clink. "For the past 2 months, I've been secretly jabbing tiny holes in your protective measures, Emily, just so you know. In barely 2 weeks, you burned through almost 70 of them. So now you're carrying Ryan's baby, or at least you were, until you decided to take care of that little issue this Friday, huh?" She crumpled, tears carving wet paths down her face, while my own look stayed dark and stony. "You're the one who kicked this off, not me." Brad's face twisted in shock, like he'd just seen a ghost. Rachel hurried over to Emily, wrapping her arms around her trembling shoulders like a protective shield. The sisters clutched each other tightly, bawling as if I'd just crossed some sacred line nobody dared to touch. I spun on my heel and walked out, tuning out Emily's desperate wails echoing behind me. Dad was already outside, truck rumbling softly, waiting for me. We hauled Emily's boxes, clothes, trinkets, all her stuff, up onto Rachel's porch. The whole time, a strange peace settled over me, like a weight lifting off my chest. This chapter was finally slamming shut. Over the next few weeks, Nexera gave Emily and Ryan the boot. Word around the office spread fast, like a match hitting dry grass, especially after Sophia, Ryan's wife, started waving lawsuits in the air. Emily wouldn't put her name on any affidavits, but it hardly made a difference. Proof of their affair was stacked sky high, undeniable. She ended up crashing at Rachel's place for good. Whispers floated around that Ryan was footing her bills, keeping her afloat. Could have been guilt gnawing at him, or maybe he felt tied to her because of that baby that never made it. I didn't give it a second thought. Sophia wrapped up her divorce from Ryan faster than you'd believe. She walked away with nearly everything: house, investments, a hefty alimony check. Ryan grumbled and tried to stall, but her lawyers crushed him like a bug under a boot. My own split from Emily finalized 4 months down the road. Emily didn't even put up a fight. Guess she knew she'd come up empty-handed. She took off to Omaha with Ryan, who'd snagged some new gig, and I was just fine with that. The kids stayed with me, and to my surprise, they didn't seem to miss her much at all. They'd always picked up on her coldness, and her smug attitude had started rubbing off on them in ways I didn't like. Then Ryan up and vanished, leaving Emily in the dust without a word. Maybe he woke up to the chaos of his life, or perhaps some old debts finally tracked him down. Someone mentioned he got jumped outside a bar, ribs smashed, one testicle gone in the scuffle, and folks called it karma catching up. Others shrugged it off as just bad luck on a rough street. Either way, Emily was left high and dry, stranded. She slunk back to Rachel's, tail between her legs. Around that time, Sophia and I started hanging out more. We took it slow, not rushing into anything mushy too fast. We both had scars and heavy baggage to unpack. Still, being around her felt easy and good. The kids took to her like fish to water, and she introduced them to the fun of looking after koi fish. We'd pile into the car for quick road trips, hit up aquariums, and turn lazy Sundays into fish-feeding hangouts. 3 months in, we were tossing around the idea of tying the knot. We'd weathered some rough storms, both of us knew what it was to have our hearts kicked around. Now, we stumbled into this quiet comfort with each other, almost by accident. She sold off her old company and used part of the cash to snag a sprawling 6-bedroom villa, complete with a pool the kids could cannonball into all summer long. Then she sprang a surprise on me, my old Jaguar XK140, tucked away in the garage, gleaming like a memory brought back to life. Emily had forced me to ditch mine years ago, but Sophia had hunted down a near-perfect twin. The day I laid eyes on it, all shiny and bold, something frozen inside me started to melt, a spark of joy I thought I'd lost for good. Last I heard, Emily was holed up in a tiny attic room at Rachel's, squeezed in like an afterthought. Money was tight for both sisters. Rachel's marriage to Brad blew up when he took a job on the Alaskan pipeline. He sent divorce papers through the mail, cutting her loose without a backward glance. Now Emily and Rachel shared a roof, both ditched by the guys they tried to twist around their fingers. Word got back to me about their squabbles, how they pointed fingers, dragged up old grudges, and picked apart the past like vultures. Meanwhile, I was sleeping like a baby every night. My payback? I'd laid bare Emily's two-faced games, wrecked her scheming little world, and watched her lose every cushy perk she'd gotten cocky about. No job, no steady love, no easy cash, she was stuck staring at the mess she'd made. Maybe she'd dealt with the pregnancy, gone through with the appointment, I didn't know, didn't ask. That was her burden to carry now. Sophia and I just kept growing tighter, day by day. The kids settled in fast, crazy about her koi fish, her big heart, and the steady vibe she brought to our home. No more hidden agendas, no lies, no toxic pride clogging up the air. Months later, Emily popped up, begging to patch things up with the kids. She left a shaky voicemail saying sorry, but I wasn't sure what to feel. When I called her back, she groveled to see them, but I told her she'd have to sign a full confession before I'd even think about supervised visits. Her begging turned into swearing when I wouldn't let her brush off what she'd done. After her tirade, I hung up, blocked her number for good, and didn't look back. Sophia and I said, I do, in a small, happy winter wedding, kids right there with us, and we celebrated by feeding koi under the moon's glow. We moved into the villa, savoring family dinners and dreaming up trips to Japan to check out koi farms. Our days turned into this smooth mix of love and calm, a total flip from the chaos we'd left behind. The kids thrived, and we built something real, no more shadows hanging over us.